when you look at the comment section on the Carnage videos, there's two major questions. The first of which is, what are you doing with the Torana? And you're right, it's been sitting here for quite a while and we still don't know what we're doing with it. We paid a fair bit of money for this car and it's sitting there and not doing a lot, and we really need to do something with it. So I've been thinking a bit about it lately, just wondering, you know, what are we going to do with this car? How are we going to make this special? Because it's got to be special. It's got to be something different. We can't do something that's just same. And I guess that kind of segues into the second biggest question that we get on Carnage videos, and that is, what are we doing with that thing? Am I crazy? I don't know. You tell me. I don't even know if this thing's going to fit. So let's run a tape measure over it and see if a Hemi will fit in that Torana. It's so crazy it might just work. So let's look at the Torana first. So this is a 1974 TA Torana. They're kind of a stopgap car between the LJ and the introduction of the Gemini. They want to give people a 4-cylinder option between the Torana and you could buy a 4-cylinder Torana, but they'd stopped making the LC. They'd had the LH come out. They didn't, I don't know if they had a 4-cylinder option in the LH at that stage, but anyway, for whatever reason, they made these things. There was 2 engine options. There was a 1.3 and a 1.8. I reckon that's the 1.3 because it is tiny. It's this tiny little engine. I have no idea if it runs or anything. Oh, wow. A little single barrel carby. Almost feel like we should throw some fuel at it and see if it fires up. But yeah, tiny little engine. Engine bay is actually a reasonable size. So I'll grab the tape measure and we'll see how much room we've got between the chassis rails. I mean, it looks mental. I mean, that is a massive motor. I just, yeah, it may fit, it may not. Let's get a tape measure and have a look. So, got our tape measure. And that's chassis rail and that's chassis rail. So it's saying 72 centimeters, but let's say 71.5 just to be safe. So 71.5 centimeters. Okay, that's interesting. And then we've got, say, this lip on the firewall. And then, wow, it's square. It's 71. From the lip to the radiator support is 71. So we've got a square hole, 71 by 71. That's interesting. Obviously I haven't counted, you know, like we can lose this big radiator mount in here, you know, because we're not going to need that. But still, it gives us something to work with. All right, Hemi, how wide are you? I guess that's the first thing we need to know. That's the outside of the header. And that's, no way. Seriously? Let's get in here, get a nice accurate measurement. So that's the outside of the header. Oh wow, it's 70 centimeters. And that's the headers, that's the factory headers. The actual heads, let's have a look at the heads. Oh wow, this is exciting actually. So there, 68. It's gonna fit, width-wise anyway. Oh, that's crazy. All right, so let's go back of the engine, off the bell housing. Bell housing to the front of the, oh God, 69. Oh my God, oh wow. This could fit. Am I crazy? That can fit. All right, we have some issues, like it only just fits, but we could certainly cut the firewall back a bit, give us some more room there. That's easy because, you know, we're not going to have, that's kind of, we need a radiator there somehow. So we're going to have to devote a little bit of room to a radiator. So if we cut into the firewall, and move the firewall back to there, like if we move the firewall back, well, that's 19 centimeters back to there. Wow, if we pull the firewall back, that gives us all the room in the world for a radiator or fans, whatever we need. That's nuts. That is nuts. Wow. What's the other thing? Oh, height. That's something else that's interesting. This is a front sump. And there's a great big hole there. I mean, once we lose this motor, we've got all the room in the world here up the front. Even if we push it back a bit. Wow. Huh, this just gets better and better. Okay, how high is it? Let's say about there. Oh, she's tall. Whew. She's very tall. There's not a lot of ground clearance there. However, I mean, we've got to get an accurate measurement of bonnet, I guess. Close that, yeah. Okay. I mean, it gets more room the further you go back. But yeah, we've only got 3.5 inches of ground clearance there. There's not a lot of clearance. However, I do have another sump out the back. I'm just not sure how deep it is. Interesting. Interesting. The other option, of course, is we get the guys at Russell Oil Pans, Ray and George Haddad, to make us up a steel front sump that's shorter in height, but, you know, wider and, you know, has the capacity, but not as deep. They could do that easy enough for us. But yeah, wow. That is very interesting. Can you imagine that? 6.4 Hemi in a Torana. So these things, when they left the factory, were, if it's the low compression 1.3, is 41 horsepower. If it's the high compression, it's like 46 horsepower. If it's a 1.8, which I'm pretty sure it's not, it's like 56 horsepower. But let's say it's the high compression 1.3 of 46 horsepower. That engine makes 10 times the horsepower, like over 10 times. That's 485 horsepower unmodified. We haven't, not even touching the cams or anything like that. You know, if you put a cam in that thing, whoa, the sky's the limit. It's really easy to hop up one of those things, you know, get some good power out of it. A few crazy people did suggest that we should modify this or put a Starfire in it or some other crazy combo. None of that makes sense. I mean, some people probably say this 6.4 doesn't make sense either, but we have the car, we have the engine, we can put them together easy enough, and it would be unique. And sad to say, on YouTube these days, you've got to be unique to get the views. So, I want to hear your opinion. If you think this is a starter, if you think this is something that we should be doing, let us know, because we're going to need all the help we can get to convince the powers that be that this is something we should be doing. Otherwise, it's probably going to end up with an LS in it. So, what would you prefer to see? An LS or a Hemi? We have both. We have a couple 5.7s, they're not very exciting, or we have the 6.4 litre Hemi. I know which is more exciting, and certainly which makes the most power. And of course we can do all sorts of things to the Hemi. We can put rods and pistons in it, turbo, all that sort of stuff. So few people will probably say, why don't you just drop it in as stock and drop a turbo on it, because apparently that's not really a thing. Because the height between the crown of the piston and the top ringland, yeah, these things don't like boost being chucked into stock motors. But if you do rods and pistons in one of these, then they're capable 1,000 horsepower plus. Yeah, they are pretty strong other than that. Obviously lifters are a bit of a concern, so you get rid of the MDS, the multi-displacement system, ditch all that stuff, put good lifters in it, put a cam in it, rods and pistons. Yeah, that's a few bucks. You probably do all that for 5 or 6 grand, probably. And then you've got a 1,000 horsepower capable motor. Or we drop it in dead nut stock of 485 horsepower, put a glide in it or something, and a diff, and go see what it does, just stock. There's a few options there. I guess the first thing we have to do is A, convince the bosses, and B, pull that little turd out and see if we can actually get this in here. Like the tape measure says yes. Is there anything else stopping us? I don't know. Give us your thoughts. Let us know. Comment and let us know and see what you reckon, because this might be just crazy enough to work.